Welcome to Formosa Dream Chasers.
We're your hosts, Mary Ann
and Qing-En.
Please join us as we explore the journeys amazing people take in pursuit of their dreams.
And get insights from their experiences.
Let's hit the road.
And get started.
Welcome back to Formosa Dream Chasers. Last week, we delved into the twists and turns how Daphne came to open her Pilates studio. Today, we continue our chat and learn what she did to make this into a success.
What are the challenges that you've encountered?
So people in Hualien, they're a little bit behind in the fitness sense. So compared to Taipei, Hualien is still growing. And the challenges, you say the challenges about opening up my own studio. I think I was just happy-go-lucky. I actually didn't think about it that much. But basically, you need capital when you open up a studio. So when I was in Australia, I was very mindful about spending money. So I saved after a lot of money. People go there for working holiday as like a holiday. I went there as a working opportunity. So with that capital that I've saved, that's how I was able to open up a studio in Hualien. And just starting off very small. Like I didn't want to make this huge, big thing. Like you see a lot of beautiful studios in Taipei or in Taichung or wherever. But for me, it was just about, hey, I've got the space. It's a nice kind of cozy space for one-on-one, private or small classes. My goal wasn't to like earn big money out of this studio or whatever that you would see in, for example, maybe in Sydney or other places where they have that 10 reformers, like those equipment. No, the equipment's quite expensive. So for me, it was an investment. And I don't want to put myself out there too much because I feel like things that are worth it take time to nurture. And there's only one instructor, it's basically me. So I can't have an overflow of clients. My time's only 24 hours. I can't teach 12 hours of the day or whichever. So for me, it was a nice, slow transition. Before, I was teaching at different studios, different gyms, and eventually I had to pull back on that when my students in my own studio was growing. So it was a little bit of a kind of give and take, until eventually I was like, hey, I can't run around anymore because I don't have time. And it's just energy draining as well, running around like that. I mean, I could do that. I did that when I was in Sydney and I was like, I don't want to do that again. I'm not getting younger. I don't want to do that anymore. So I think eventually building up a reputation in Hualien, people kind of knew who I was. And then they're like, hey, she's got medical background. She studied physical therapy. Let's go try it out, see what it was. And just by word of mouth, people eventually started coming.
Based on how everything started up to this point, what would be your takeaway in terms of like what you've learned? You know what? Your story just frankly sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Because everything...
I feel very blessed.
It's amazing in the sense that everything, although you didn't really have a set plan, I think you were mindful and everything kind of really aligned really well. Yeah. Serendipity.
Yes, serendipity. I really believe in that. And when I was in Sydney, I was very focused on I'm going to stay there, I'm going to get a visa because I really enjoyed staying in Australia. It's kind of similar to South Africa in a sense because there's a lot of South Africans that go to Australia. It's just safer. And I was very adamant about getting a visa. I'm like, I'm sure I'll be able to get it. But the reason I came back to Taiwan was because my visa, it expired, but I didn't get into becoming a sponsored visa, which my boss wanted to sponsor me at the time. But because the agent didn't handle the documents correctly, so eventually it got declined. And then it kind of gave me a wake-up call and just be like, hey, maybe it's a sign. Like you can't force things that you can't control, basically. So for me, it kind of made me realize that, you know what, just have an open mind. Be open to different possibilities. Don't be so stubborn on certain things. And looking back now, it just felt like different pieces of puzzle coming together. And now when I take a step back and I look at the full picture, I was like, hey, maybe it was supposed to be like this. So I feel like people just need to have an open mind and an open heart about it. Everything happens for a reason. No one's trying to make your life miserable. I was always positive when I was growing up. I was very optimistic that my brother thought I was annoying. He's like, why are you always smiling? Why are you always laughing? Because I'm just a happy kid. He would get so annoyed. And just like growing up, he's like, why is everything happening so smoothly for you and for me? I'm just like, blah, blah. I think it's just the mentality. You got to be positive, but realistic at the same time. You can't just be like overly positive and not plan and everything. I plan a lot of things in my life, but other things, I just leave it up to serendipity. Because I'm like, you know what? You got to have some kind of adventure as well. Otherwise, it would be boring.
So since you've started this studio, is there any rewarding memories that you can share with us?
For me, it's always rewarding to see clients become healthier. For example, if they come to me and be like, hey, I have lower back pain. And so I would do some assessments. And then by maybe the second or third session, I would always check in on them when they come for a session. I'm like, how's your pain scale now? And usually the pain goes away quite quickly. So for me, that's rewarding because I know that at least I'm helping them lead happier and healthier lives. So it's rewarding in that sense. And also just to see them grow. When they first come to me, they would be asking, hey, does this help with losing weight? And for me, it's a very superficial thing because I don't believe that you should be doing exercise just to lose weight. I think it should be a healthy habit that you eventually pick up. And then the byproduct of exercising would be losing weight. Yeah. Because if you really want to lose weight, you just got to control what you eat. And it's hard to control that. Especially in Taiwan, there's so many like yummy foods. It's so hard. And like 7-Eleven's like 24 hours and basically you can always have something to eat. Also, seeing clients' mindset changes from I want to lose weight to hey, I just want to be more mindful about my posture today and connecting with your own body. I feel like that's more important. So for me, it's more the internal growth as well, not just physical. Physical, you can see that, oh yeah, I'm getting better. But that's why I have a lot of private sessions with clients. And for me, it's a more intimate kind of session where we can talk about different things. And for me, it's interesting because I always love listening to different stories. And it kind of makes me reflect on, hey, this is a different way of thinking. And it's just a nice little exchange. And sometimes I feel like they can also pick up on some of the advice that I give as well. For me, it's not just helping them grow physically, but I feel like spiritually, it kind of taps into their mindset as well. Because in Taiwan, I think everyone's just very focused on their lives. Like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be buying a house, or like different problems. But I feel like just like taking a step back and having a different perspective on things, they're like, hey, actually, life's not that bad. Yeah.
And speaking of mindset, you mentioned about your belief that prevention is better than cure. How do you spread this thinking or philosophy in your teaching? How do you incorporate it?
So when clients come in, so after the session, I would normally just remind them, like, hey, you come here for 1 hour a week, or maybe sometimes 2. But for the rest of the 23 hours, I'm not there with you. So you gotta know, you gotta like remind yourself. When you're in the studio, I can definitely remind you, hey, you gotta breathe, you gotta relax your shoulders, you gotta put your body in the correct posture. But when you leave, when you step out of the studio, I wish you can use this and apply it to your daily life. And I usually remind them, and I would ask them by the next session, it's like, hey, how was your week? And for me, it's really interesting when they're like, hey, I actually caught myself slouching the other day. And then I corrected myself. So for me, those are the baby steps. And I love seeing that. It's just becoming more aware of your body and tapping into what you should and shouldn't be doing and not just doing things mindlessly. It's like basically eating junk food. Like we eat junk food when we're bored and when we're tired and all that, when we're stressed, whatever. But having a different outlook on it, like, hey, why do I crave junk food? Just knowing that and then use an alternative, I think that's a better way to deal with things.
I love how, your message, our whole discussion really resonated with me. And I love how you're making people more mindful and accountable. I believe all of us, and especially here in Taiwan, we're taught, and even society reminds us to be responsible. But I feel to some degree being also accountable to yourself is not in there. You're accountable to your family, to your partner, to your friends.
But never to yourself.
Yes, you feel all of these responsibilities towards others.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like in the Taiwanese culture, I think in most Asian cultures, it's always about you got to be service to others, you got to do all these things, and it's never about tapping into yourself. It's like if you think about yourself, it's kind of labeled selfish. And whereas in the Western society, it's like, hey, you want to focus on yourself. You got to make sure that you're okay before you can help others. It's like on the plane. They're always like, hey, when the air mask comes down, help yourself first, and then you can help other people. It's a different mindset. So that's one thing that I want to spread out to other people as well. And a lot of clients that come to my studio are mums. So they've got little ones, they got to look after them. And I always remind them not just to look after everyone else except yourself.
Would you say the Taiwanese young women are more aware of their health as compared to the previous generation?
I would think so. Like some of my clients are quite young, but the age range is quite vast. So there's 20-somethings to like 50-somethings. My mom comes to my classes. She's 65 this year. She's doing well. So I'm like, hey, you got to keep going so you can be a model student. Represent the elderly. I think, the younger generation are willing to spend money and invest in their own health, whereas the older generation would be, like I said, like, why would I pay money to exercise? But the thing is, if you don't pay, usually you just don't do it. Because if you pay for a class and your fees get deducted, then you're like, oh, maybe I should do something. When things are free, I feel like people don't appreciate it and they don't take it seriously enough.
What about male students in your studio?
Oh, I'm a male student. So in Taiwan, it's still picking up.
Okay.
The ratio is very, very different. There's obviously predominantly more females. But for me, I always love seeing couples that come to my session.
Oh, that's nice.
It's usually husband and wife.
Yeah.
And I think it's so cute.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, they're doing Pilates together.
Yeah.
And for me, it kind of signifies that they can grow together. And they're not afraid to let the other person see their weakness or when they are shaking, the muscles are shaking, or, you know, when they can't do it anymore. And I'm always like, bless you guys. You guys are going to go far. Yeah, because it's an ego thing. Like a lot of guys don't want to let their partners see the more vulnerable side of them. Yeah. So I do want to eventually get more male clients because both can benefit from Pilates. Because like I said, Joseph Pilates created Contrology to rehab injured soldiers, which were mainly men. It was only because he eventually moved to America and I think he got invited to different dance studios, which is predominantly women. That's how it kind of got skewed into everyone thinking, oh, is Pilates a female dominant or female orientated sport? I'm like, no, it's not. So overseas, or at least in South Africa, I would have different athletes, male athletes. They have swimmers, they have golfers, actors, like all these different people. They don't have a restricting mindset about, oh, this exercise is for females only.
Yeah, I remember whenever I go to Pilates class in gym, and there was a lot of men standing outside looking at those female students. And I'm the only outlier. Like I'm the only minority in the classroom, and they were like, "Oh, so this is not very intensive exercise." But I think it looks actually the strength comes from inside your body. It's very different from like workout.
Yeah, that's why for me it's always interesting when I see a male client in my class. I'm like, hey, okay, we'll see how he goes and if he comes back next week.
Yeah, it's usually the female elders. They are more like resilient than the men.
Yeah, they're very strong. They're mentally strong. So eventually, like I said, I do wish there will be more male clients that come in just to break that stereotype. I don't like stereotypes. I was like, hey, try it out. You don't know unless you try it out.
So what advice would you give to someone looking or aspiring to develop a career in Pilates or in fitness industry in general?
You gotta really have this drive and this passion for fitness. Like if you don't like to exercise generally, I wouldn't recommend you to go into this industry. Yeah, so firstly, know what you want, know what your hobbies are. Or maybe it's a hobby and then if you want to dive into making a career, then sure, go for it. Like you won't know unless you try. I feel like everything goes back to being mindful. You gotta know what you want to give back to the society. So when I opened up my studio, I didn't think that I'm gonna make a lot of money out of this. I just thought, hey, this is helpful to people. If people want to come and do Pilates, they'll get better, then fine. Leave it up to serendipity. You got to be clear on what your message wants to be. So, for example, on my website, I would tell people if you want to improve your posture, if you want to become more confident in your body, if you want to learn more about your body and connect with it, then sure, more than welcome to come to my studio. So I don't advertise it as you're going to become a K-pop star and be super slim and do the splits or whichever. It's all very superficial stuff. So you got to know what your purpose is. That would be my number one. And not just like mindlessly follow trends like, oh, you know, Pilates studios is kind of trending now, maybe I should open up a studio. Because firstly, there's a cost involved, and secondly, depends on your location, there's always going to be competition. So how do you stand out from your competition? If you're all doing the same thing, you know, the consumer's going to be like, I'm just going to go to the cheapest one because I don't know the differences are. So for me, you got to find your own style. Like, what do you want to bring across? What is the message that you want to give to the students that come to your studio? And secondly, you got to keep learning. Gotta stay curious about a lot of things. So I'm always curious about my students. I'm always learning. I'm always listening to podcasts or like reading books, attending different workshops, just out of curiosity and how I can implement what I've learned into the sessions that I give to my clients. So you got to continually improve yourself if you want to become an instructor, because you're a teacher basically. If you're a teacher, you got to keep learning.
Right.
I would think that would be important.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to go to a teacher that just been teaching this thing for like 10 years and haven't updated its techniques or everything.
Right.
Yeah. Thirdly, you got to be patient. I think everyone's very fast-paced these days. So just slowing things down. Everyone wants to make money. That's just part of life. People want, you know, financial freedom, all that stuff. But it shouldn't be your number one priority. Like if you wanted to do, then go do stocks, do market, like go into that, go into other businesses. Yeah, go invest. That would make money easier. So for me, it's just like you got to make sure if you want your business to grow, you got to grow it steadily instead of going it all in and make it very big and everything. Because I remember a friend asking me, I was like, oh, I thought you were going to open up this huge studio and have like glass doors and all that stuff. I'm like, firstly, that costs money. And secondly, that wasn't my goal. I don't have a sign out there saying that it's a Pilates studio. So what I want to bring across to people is when they come in, they feel comfortable, they have a safe space for them to learn and be curious. But a lot of studios that I've seen, and Taipei is like popping up all these different studios and they look beautiful, but I'm always conscious about how the quality of the instructors are. So if I go to a studio, I always look at their resume and see like if I've seen this certification before, if it's international or if it's local. So just being patient. Eventually, if you are adamant about your message that you want to bring across to the people, the right people will come and find you. You don't want to cater to everyone because you can't please everyone. And also it's tiring for yourself as well. It's energy draining.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I've learned during this journey of teaching. And when I was in Sydney and, some clients would be complaining like, hey, can we do this, whatever, can we do something else? For me, I'm just like, hey, there's other instructors that you're more than welcome to go and attend their sessions. So for me, it kind of made my skin a bit more thick and just not take things personally. So for me, growing as a Pilates instructor, it's also helped me with my kind of personal life as well. I don't take things personally anymore because for me, I'm like, okay, that's your opinion of things. Cool. I'm very stable with who I am. And if we don't vibe together, that's totally fine.
There's this saying that your story reminded me. Like when the teacher is ready, the students will come. And when the student is ready, the teacher will be there.
Oh, wow.
I kind of feel that is...
Yeah. That's so true. I just got goosebumps. That's so true. Yeah.
So
that is so cool.
What's your next step?
I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to share this, but anyway, I'll be fine. I actually want to open up a bigger studio, basically, and opening up more workshops. I really enjoy workshops, like teaching workshops. Because for me, I can learn as well, because I have to do the research and doing different retreats. But maybe not in Hualien just yet, because there's like so many mosquitoes. So outdoors would be a problem. So yeah, that's one thing that I would have to think hard about. But yeah, retreats. I think people nowadays, they need somewhere to kind of de-stress and just be with themselves. So for me, I need a lot of alone time as well. Because I deal with people every day. When I get home, I need my own space. I need my own routine. And I just wish people can find their own routine as well when they are in their busy lives. Because when you don't pay attention to your body, it starts coming off in different ways, like illnesses and pains and aches. Yeah. So like going back to the root, like why are you in pain? I think knowing that will be important.
I'm afraid we don't have enough.
Yeah, I know. I'm really
learn
enjoying
from your
our
experience.
chat.
Maybe I should come back. I would love to come back.
Yes.
I'm curious about her retreat in Bali, but
yeah, that's
maybe
a different.
we should.
Yeah, that'll be another topic.
Yeah.
So I guess before we end, any final thoughts or message you would like to share with our listeners?
I think you just got to stay true to your art. It's like, it's very cliche, but like be authentic. And like I said, you can't please everyone. So I think with age, hopefully with age, not everyone, but most people, with age, you got to learn more about yourself. If you know what you want and know how to communicate that to other people, then you'll be able to lead a happier life. Stay positive.
If our listeners are interested in your work, how can our listeners connect with you?
So you can follow me on Instagram. The handle is Daphne Lo Pilates. And if you want to type it in Chinese, if you type in Danling Lao Shi, that's also, you can find me. And I have like different videos on what people can do at home.
Yeah.
That's my another contribution towards society.
Okay.
She also started live stream sometimes.
Yeah.
Do Pilates at home.
The reason I did the live stream was because there was the typhoon during that time.
Okay.
And then so classes were cancelled. And I was like, oh, my poor students, maybe I should do something for them because they're bored at home. I was like, okay, we'll do something live stream. But that was fun.
Thank you, Daphne, for sharing your journey in Pilates teaching and for your valuable insights. It's never too late to start your path toward a healthier, happier life.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Ching and Cho
and Mary Ann Shoko.
See you guys next week. Bye.
Hey, what are those buttons on RTI's new website for?
Those are for Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. You can share RTI content with the click of a button.
You mean like this?
Yep, just like that. Visit english.rti.org.tw.